Good afternoon, everyone. From morning itself, we discussed about fluid electrolyte balance, in that factors regulating water intake and what are the mechanisms included in this and what is its management and electrolyte imbalances. And now we are going to discuss about fluid imbalances. What is fluid imbalances? It is occurs when the body's compensating mechanisms are unable to maintain homeostatic state, and fluid imbalance may relate to either volume or distribution of water or electrolytes. Okay, the fluid imbalance may related to either volume or distribution of water or electrolytes, and in that fluid volume deficit. What is fluid volume deficit? And it is also known as hypovolemia. Okay, fluid volume deficit. Hypo means decrease, deficiency, and hyper means excess. Okay, you remember this one. Hypo means decrease and hyper means increase. In fluid volume deficit, it is caused by a deficiency in both amount of water and electrolytes in extracellular fluid. Okay, and this fluid volume deficit is mainly caused by the deficiency and amount of water in the body and electrolytes. Okay, water electrolytes present in water: sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium. We discussed in morning classes what are the electrolytes and electrolyte imbalances. But the water and electrolytes proportions remain near normal. The state is commonly known as hypovolemic state. Okay, hypovolemia, that means deficiency of water or any volume in the blood. And both osmotic and hydrostatic pressure changes force the interstitial fluid into intravascular space. Okay, and here it is an interstitial fluid which is present in the extracellular and intracellular fluid, and this may be changes in the pressure, osmotic and hydrostatic pressure changes force the interstitial fluid into intravascular space. Okay, the interstitial fluid comes down into the intravascular space because of there may be both osmotic and hydrostatic changes occurs in that. Because of that only, the fluid which is present in the interstitial fluid that comes back into the intravascular space. Okay, as the interstitial space leaving cells without adequate fluid of function properly. And fluid volume deficit results from the loss of body fluids, and especially fluid intake is simultaneously decreased. If the person may intake of fluid will be decreased, in that cases we see loss of body fluids, and that condition is known as hypovolemia or fluid volume deficit. Okay, and especially fluid intake is simultaneously decreased. And the main characteristics of fluid volume deficit are as follows: weight loss over short period. If the fluid volume deficits means there may be a in short period of time there may be weight loss over short period, and decreased skin and tongue turgor, and dry mucous membranes, and urine output less than 30 ml per hour in adult, and the urine output also changes. In normally in healthy individual, the per day 1500 ml of urine will be passed. In this fluid volume deficits condition, the person may urine output less than 30 ml per hour. And postural hypotension. Hypotension means decreased blood pressure. Systolic pressure drops by more than 15 mmHg. When clients moves from lying to stand or sitting position, the systolic pressure drops by more than 15 mm of Hg, and the pulse may be weak and rapid pulse. Okay, in rapid pulse the condition is known as rapid pulse, that means heart rate increases tachycardia and heart rate decreases bradycardia. Okay, slow filling peripheral veins and decreased body temperature. Normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius, in Celsius 37 degrees centigrade, unless infection is present. And CVP, central venous pressure less than 4 centimeters of water, and bun elevated. Blood urea nitrogen elevated out of proportion to serum creatinine. Okay, the bun levels will be elevated and it is out of proportion to serum creatinine. And specific gravity high. In urine, specific gravity will be in high, and hematocrit elevated, and flat neck veins in supine position, and marked oliguria late, altered sensorium. Okay, marked oliguria means decreased urine excretion will be low. Okay, that is known as oliguria. And what are the nursing intervention for fluid volume deficit? As a nurse, we have to play a vital role in this fluid volume deficit and to provide care to the patient. Don't leave them alone. Okay, we have to provide psychological support to the patient, and we have to provide any medications and treatment and administration of fluids. So we have to know if the person is fluid volume deficit is suffered with fluid hypovolemic state, the person is in hypovolemic state. As a nurse, we know what we'll do to that person. Okay, assess for presence on or worsening of FVD. FVD means fluid volume deficit, and administer oral fluids if according to the physician order. After that, consider the client's likes and dislikes when offering fluids, and if the client is reluctant to drink because of oral discomfort, and select fluids that are non-irritating to the mucosa, and provide frequent mouth care. We have to provide frequent mouth care. You know about mouth care, and what is the purpose of this mouth care? What is the purpose of this mouth care? To prevent or to spread of infection to the further organs. And after that, to provide frequent mouth care, offer saline gargle or any chlorhexidine mouth garglings is in medical shops. So you have to apply, and lubricant to lips. Okay, and offer fluids at regular intervals. We have to administer the fluids at regular intervals, time to time, and we have to assess the patient condition, how is it, and the vital signs also. Vital signs: respiration, blood pressure, heart rate, and temperature. We have to monitor, and explain the need for fluid replacement to the client, and administer pro-renote medications if nausea is present to provide relief before fluids are offered. Okay, and after that, if impaired swallowing means, if the patient unable to swallow means, we have to provide the nasogastric tube. Okay, we give nasogastric tube feedings according to the physician order. Okay, already we seen in previous classes nasogastric tube and how it inserted all. And assess gag reflex and ability to swallow water. Before offering solid foods, have a suction apparatus on hand. Before offering solid foods, we have to suctioning if any gag reflex will be there, that means any secretions will be there, we have to close monitoring about that and offer the suctioning. And position the client in an upright position with head and neck flexed slightly forward and during feeding. Okay, and after that, provide thick fluids and semi-solid foods. We have to provide thick fluids or semi-solid foods, and these are more easily swallowed because of the consistency and weight than thin liquids. If the client is unable to eat and drink, discuss possibility of tube feeding. Okay, TPN means total parenteral nutrition. We have to discuss possibility of tube feeding. If the client unable to eat and drink and swallowing, if any irritation or discomfort to the patient, we have to discuss possibility for tube feeding or TPN. TPN means total parenteral nutrition with the physician. And monitor response to fluid intake either orally or parenterally. Orally means by mouth and parenterally means through intravenous. Okay, intravenous and parenteral route. And monitor clients for abnormal fluid retention such as renal or cardiac problems, for signs of overload during aggressive fluid replacement. And turn client frequently, apply moisturizing agents on the skin, and sometimes dehydration is used as synonym for hypovolemia, and technically it is wrong. Dehydration refers only to a decreased volume of water. Okay, only to a and dehydration and hypovolemia is a synonym, but it is technically it is wrong. Dehydration refers only to a decreased volume of water. Dehydration means only decrease of the deficient water, but water is not decreased without electrolyte charges also. Hydration is the union of a substance with water and is often used to indicate that there is normal water volume in the body. And in hypovolemia, the person may be decreased water content in the body or any electrolyte charges also. But in dehydration, we are observed in dehydration patients only decrease of volume of water. Okay, and this is about fluid volume deficit. Okay, fluid volume deficit can be caused by a deficiency in the amount of both water and electrolytes in extracellular fluid. And the main weight loss over short period and decreased skin and tongue turgor and dry mucous membranes, urine output less than 30 ml. Okay, and these are the main characteristics of fluid volume deficits. And what are the nursing interventions for fluid volume deficit, already we seen. Once go through this topic. And after that, fluid volume excess. What is fluid volume excess? It is quite opposite to the fluid volume deficit. Deficit means decreased fluid volume in the blood, and here increased. That means excessive retention of water and sodium in extracellular fluid. Okay, in near normal proportions result in a condition termed as fluid volume excess. Okay, excessive retention of water and sodium in ECF. ECF means extracellular fluid in near normal proportions results in a condition termed as fluid volume excess. It is also called hypervolemia. If fluid volume deficit means hypovolemia, if fluid volume excess means hypervolemia. Overhydration refers only to above normal amounts of water in extracellular spaces, and malfunction of the kidney causing an inability to excrete, the success and failure of the heart to function as a pump. If the malfunction of the kidney is mainly causing to inability to excrete the urine and any sodium excretion will be fail, and the success and failure of the heart also. So resulting in accumulation of fluid in the lungs and dependent parts of the body. So there may be retention of the fluid in the parts of the body or accumulation of fluid in the lungs are common causes. When water is retained in excessive amounts, so is sodium. If the water is retained in excessive amounts, that is sodium Na plus. Actually, sodium Na plus excrete through tubules, but here if there is any functional problem of the lungs or any kidneys, so this is the main cause for retention of the water or sodium. Due to increased extracellular osmotic pressure from the retained sodium, fluid is pulled from the cells to equalize the tonicity. By the time intracellular and extracellular spaces are isotonic to each other, an excess of both water and sodium are in ECF. Because of this, intracellular and extracellular spaces are isotonic to each other. Because of this only, both water and sodium are retained in the extracellular fluid spaces. And due to the increased osmotic pressure from the retained sodium, fluid is pulled from the cells to equalize the tonicity. Okay, while the cells are nearly depleted, the excessive ECF may accumulate in tissue spaces, okay, and is known as edema. If the retention of water and sodium in the tissue spaces and water cells, that may cause edema. That's why the patient may have swelling of legs, puffiness of face and hands, and the fluid will be retained and it will be shows a symptom of puffiness of face and swollen legs and hands, generalized edema, and the person may suffer with localized or generalized edema. Okay, and edema can be observed around the eyes and finger ankles and sacral space, and also accumulate in or around body organs. It may result in a weight gain in excess of 5%. If the fluid retention will be there may be weight gain, because the fluid will be retained in the legs and fingers, ankles and around the eyes. So because of this only, the person may result in a weight gain excess 5%. When the excess fluid remains in the intravascular space, the concentration of solids in the blood is decreased. Okay, when excess fluid is remains in the intravascular space, there may be the concentration of solids in the blood also decreased, because no fluid, so the concentration will be low, okay, decreased. And interstitial to plasma shift is the movement of fluid from the space surrounding the cells to the blood. And the shift, also called hypovolemia, is a compensatory response to volume or osmotic pressure changes of the intravascular fluid. And after that, the common related factors which lead to fluid volume excess are as follows: compromised regulatory mechanisms such as renal failure, congestive heart failure, and cirrhosis of liver, Cushing syndrome. These are the main causes which lead to fluid volume excess. If the person may suffer with these diseases, the person may lead to fluid volume retention, okay, fluid volume excess in their body. Compromised regulatory mechanisms such as renal failure, congestive heart failure, cirrhosis of liver and Cushing syndrome, overzealous administration of sodium containing IV fluids. These are the main related factors which lead to fluid volume excess, and excessive ingestion of sodium containing substances in their diet. Okay, as a nurse we have to educate the patient, don't eat much more sodium in their diet. Okay, and this may also cause hypertension, okay, increased blood pressure also. And what are the characteristics of fluid volume excess? Weight gain over short period. In being short period only, the person may get excessive weight, gain excess weight. And peripheral edema. Peripheral edema means excess of fluid in the interstitial space. And in distended neck veins and peripheral veins, and after that crackles and wheezing sounds in the wheezing breath sounds will be abnormal, wheezing sounds will be here. And polyuria means if renal function is normal, polyuria, excessive urination will be there. And ascites means the fluid which is accumulated into the body cavities, that is known as ascites. And pleural effusion and decreased blood urea nitrogen levels will be decreased. And decreased hematocrit values also decreased. And bounding pulse and pulmonary edema, the lungs also get affected because of the accumulation of fluid in the lungs. Because of this, edema occurs in the lungs, that is known as pulmonary edema if severe. And what are the nursing interventions for fluid volume excess? Assess the presence or worsening of fluid volume excess and encourage adherence to sodium restricted diet if prescribed. Okay, we have to educate the client or family members and neighbors. Don't take sodium in their diet, or sodium restricted diet we have to advise. And teach client requiring sodium restrictions to avoid over the counter drugs without first checking with the healthcare advisor or nurse. And when fluid retention persists despite adherence to dietary sodium intake, and consider hidden sources of sodium such as water supply or use of water softeners. Okay, and when indicated, encourage rest period, lying down favors diuresis of edema fluid. And monitor the client's response to diuretics. Discuss significant findings with physician, and monitor the rate of parenteral fluids and the client response, and teach self-monitoring of aid and intake and output measurements to clients with chronic fluid retention. Okay, if the person may suffer with extracellular fluid, renal failure, and cirrhosis of liver, we have to advise or teach self-monitoring of aid and intake output measurements to clients with chronic fluid retention. And what is dyspnea? Inability to take breath. And orthopnea, while standing, the person may suffer with suffocation, so they may be present. And position the client in semi-Fowler's position to facilitate lung expansion, and turn and position the client frequently. Beware that edematous tissue is more prone to skin breakdown than in normal tissue. This is about fluid volume excess. Okay, what is fluid volume excess? Excessive retention of water and sodium in extracellular fluid in near normal proportions results in a condition termed as fluid volume excess. This is also known as hyperolemia. Okay, hypovolemia and hypervolemia. Hypovolemia means fluid volume deficit, and hyperolemia means fluid volume excess. And after that, acid base imbalance. What is acid base imbalance? Or acid base imbalance. Acidosis and alkalosis are not diseases, but rather are the result of a wide variety of disorders. This acidosis and alkalosis are not an diseases, but further are the result of a wide variety of disorders. And the presence of acidosis or alkalosis provides an important clue to doctors that is a serious problem exists. Okay, if the person may suffer with acidosis or alkalosis, and it is a main sign or symptom, or if the client is in serious situation, the doctor may maybe have a clue about this. And metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis are caused by an imbalance in the production of acids or bases and their excretion by the kidneys. Okay, and there is an imbalance in the production of acids and bases and their excretion by the kidneys, because the kidneys may fail to excrete the substances like sodium and water. There may be retention will be there. Because of this, metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis may caused by an imbalances in the production of acids and bases. And respiratory acidosis and respiratory alkalosis, it is primarily caused by changes in carbon dioxide exhalation. It is exhalation, release out. If the carbon dioxide is not released from the lungs due to lung or breathing disorders, it may be cause respiratory alkalosis and acidosis. And what is acidosis? The blood has too much acid or too little base, resulting in a decrease in blood pH. Okay, if the blood pH contains too much acid in the blood, it is known as acidosis. And The blood has too much base or too little acid, resulting in an increasing in blood pH. The blood pH will be increased. In acidosis condition, there will be decreased blood pH, and in alkalosis, increase in blood pH. And what are the types of acidosis and alkalosis? Respiratory acidosis and respiratory alkalosis, and metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis. What is respiratory acidosis? Already we seen, if any changes in the breathing disorders or any lung disorders will be there, the person may suffer with these disorders. The primarily changes in carbon dioxide exhalation, the persons may need to get this respiratory acidosis and respiratory alkalosis. In respiratory acidosis, it is marked by an increased arterial carbon dioxide concentration. Here, increased arterial carbon dioxide concentration must be increased. Because of this, excess carbonic acid and increased hydrogen ion concentration. Because of this is caused by hypoventilation or any condition that depress ventilation in respiratory acidosis. The cerebrospinal fluid becomes acidic. Hypoxemia means there may be decrease of oxygen levels in the blood, occurs because of respiratory depression. These hypoxemia may also cause respiratory depression to the patient, and it depresses, and this respiratory acidosis depresses the ventilation and hypoventilation, that the person may suffer with hypoventilation and decreased ventilation and increased arterial carbon dioxide concentration in the blood. And after that, respiratory alkalosis, it is marked by decreased carbon dioxide concentration and decreased hydrogen ion concentration. Respiratory alkalosis results from excessive exhalation of carbon dioxide or hyperventilation, and the signs and symptoms of respiratory alkalosis are headache, irritability, dizziness, dysarrhythmias, tachypnea. Tachypnea means increased breath rate, more than 24 breaths per minute, and acid humming and tingling sensation of extremities, and these may be decreased carbon dioxide concentration and decreased hydrogen ion concentration that may cause respiratory alkalosis. Okay, the main symptoms we observe are headache, irritability, dizziness, dysarrhythmias, tachypnea, and tingling sensation of extremities. This is about respiratory alkalosis. And after that, metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis. What is metabolic acidosis? It results from a rise in hydrogen ion concentration in the extracellular fluid caused by increase in hydrogen ion levels or a decrease in bicarbonate levels. Okay, here we seen increased hydrogen levels and decreased bicarbonate levels. It also causes starvation, diabetic ketoacidosis, and renal failure, shock, diarrhea. And it is and the clinical manifestations we observe in this metabolic acidosis persons are headache, lethargy, confusion, tachypnea, and deep respiration, abnormal cramps, and flushed skin. Okay, these are the main manifestations we observe in metabolic acidosis patients. And what is metabolic alkalosis? It is marked by heavy loss of acid from the body or by increase in level of bicarbonate. Okay, in metabolic acidosis, there may be decreased level of hydrogen ion levels and bicarbonate levels also decrease. And here, increased level of bicarbonate levels and decrease of hydrogen ions. And the most common cause is vomiting. In metabolic alkalosis patient, they may be suffered with vomiting and nauseated, and other causes are hypokalemia. Hypokalemia means decreased potassium levels in the blood, and prolonged gastric suctioning and Cushing syndrome, and use of certain drugs such as steroids, bicarbonates, diuretics. The signs and symptoms we observe in These patients are headache, irritability, confusion, dysarrhythmias, lethargy, abnormal cramps, numbness, tingling, muscle cramps, and tetany. These are the main symptoms we observe in this metabolic alkalosis. First, you are concentrated. I tell easy way. Respiratory acidosis means increased arterial carbon dioxide and excess carbonic acid and increased hydrogen ion concentration. Here, both hydrogen and arterial carbon dioxide concentration is increased. In respiratory alkalosis, decreased carbon dioxide and decreased hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, both will be decreased. In respiratory acidosis, both arterial carbon dioxide and carbonic acid will be excess or increased, and respiratory alkalosis decreased carbon dioxide and hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, and after that metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis, it is maybe rise in hydrogen ion concentration and decrease bicarbonate levels. Rise in hydrogen ion concentration and decrease metabolic levels. And in metabolic alkalosis, increase level of bicarbonate and decrease the hydrogen ion concentration. Okay, it may be in reverse. In metabolic acidosis, increased bicarbonate levels, decreased bicarbonate levels, and in metabolic alkalosis there may be increased level of bicarbonate levels. Okay, this is about acid base imbalances. There may be 4: respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, and metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. Okay, this is about acid base balance, and an important property of blood is its degree of acidity or alkalinity. Blood acidity increases when the level of acidic compounds in the body rises. If the blood acidity increases, if the level of acidic compounds in the body rises, and it may cause decreased elimination. Okay, and when the level of basic alkaline compounds in the body falls, increased elimination. Okay, and blood alkalinity increases with the reverse process, and it is a reverse process. If the acidic compounds rises in the body, there may be decreased elimination, and if the level of basic compounds in the body falls, that may be increased elimination. Okay, there may be in reverse, and the body's balance between acidity and alkalinity is referred to as acid base balance. Okay, what is acid base balance? The body's balance between acidity and alkalinity is referred to as acid base balance. And after that, the body uses different mechanisms to control the blood's acid base balance. What are the role of the lungs? One mechanism the body uses to control blood pH involves the release of carbon dioxide from the lungs, and the carbon dioxide, which is mildly acidic, is a waste product of the metabolism of oxygen and constantly produced by the cells. As with all waste products, carbon dioxide gets excreted into the blood, and the blood carries carbon dioxide to the lungs where it is exhaled. Okay, the blood carries carbon dioxide to the lungs where it is exhaled, and as carbon dioxide accumulates in the blood, the pH of the blood decreases. If the pH of the blood decreases, the acidity will be increases, and the brain regulates the amount of carbon dioxide that is exhaled by controlling the speed and depth of breathing. And after that, role of the kidneys are able to affect blood pH by excreting excess acids or bases. The kidneys have some ability to alter the amount of acid or base that is excreted, but because the kidneys make these adjustments more slowly than the lungs do, this compensation generally takes several days. And what is buffer systems? Another mechanism for controlling blood pH involves the use of buffer systems, which guard against sudden shifts in acidity and alkalinity. Okay, they may be chemically to minimize changes in the pH solution. And after that, the most important pH buffer system in the blood involves carbonic acid and bicarbonate ions. These are the main buffer systems which are role in this acid base balance. Okay, this is about acid base balance and fluid volume deficit and excess, hypovolemia, hyperolemia. Once go through this topic. Thank you.